Hello and welcome, everybody. We are about to go live with our we are live now. We're about to start recording Flicker Effect episode 384. It is 384, right, guys? Before I start our actual podcast.
Let's go with that.
We'll go with that. Should I check?
I don't keep up with the number of episodes.
I don't either. I should, but
Just don't.
I can take a quick look.
I'm also trying to quickly look. Pretty sure we're at that 384. Super professional here.
384. Considering we're not being paid for this, we're as professionals.
Like,
I think
who
we
will
should
see it first?
Who will find it
384.
first? 384. This is 384. All right.
You got this.
We're about to start recording episode 384 of the podcast. Welcome, everybody. If you are watching us on YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook. If you're listening to us, you're not hearing any of this part. So it doesn't matter.
True.
Well, if everyone's ready, let's do this.
Ready?
We are recording. Let's do this. Hello and welcome, everybody, to Flicker Effect, episode 384. We are recording this and broadcasting live on Sunday, November 7th, 2021. I'm David Lotz. Joining me, as always, is Bobby Jackson.
Hey, how's it going?
And Michelle Hillard.
Hi, everybody. Hello.
Welcome. A little housekeeping. If you are watching us live or in the future as a recording on YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook, welcome. If not, you must be listening to us. We are also available as an audio podcast. You can find the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, the iHeartRadio app, Spotify, just to name a few. Basically, anywhere you listen to podcasts, you should be able to find Flicker Effect. So those are the many ways to enjoy the show. Just wanted to mention that this week we are going to be just pretty much talking about Eternals. It's all about Eternals this week. Yeah, I don't know. We're going to be doing a review for Eternals. We're going to probably start off by talking just our spoiler-free thoughts for a little bit. We'll get to spoilers, though, probably fairly quickly. And yeah, we're going to talk about everything with the movie.
And you have a nice little banner for when we actually get to that point for anyone that's watching, so that they'll know when we get to spoilers.
Yeah, there'll be plenty of warning. My dog is, apparently going to enjoy the show as well. I don't know. She's leaving. Bye.
She's like, I don't want to hear spoilers.
Like,
I don't want to hear spoilers for Eternals. I was looking forward to that. Yeah, we can jump right into it unless anybody has anything else you wanted to talk about quickly before we talk about Eternals. Luna, do you have anything? No,
maybe.
No, that's good. Hi.
For audio listeners, David and Michelle's dog is in the the house as well, and she's all up in the business.
She is.
She's really
hi. No.
She's been kind of like this all day.
Yeah, she has been. The weather is cooler finally for us in Florida anyway. It's like, oh, wow, it's actually like cool out. And I think this husky is super happy about it. She's been like wanting to go outside constantly. And I think this will be a thing probably throughout the show of this, like, hey, want to take me to the door.
She was just out too.
Yeah, this is going to be awesome.
So, I mean, I hate to ask, but who's going to let the dog out?
It'll probably be me.
Yeah, good.
She was just out too.
No, she's fine.
She's fine.
She'll get over it. Yeah. You were just out. We're not doing this right now. So anyway.
She's just going to
Eternals.
Be the cute one for the show today.
She's like super excited about Eternals. All right. Eternals is in theaters, directed by Chloe Zhao, who most people probably know her from directing Nomadland, winning. Yeah. She won Best Director for that, didn't she?
And writer.
And
yep,
the film won Best Film.
That's
yeah. She directed this. We've got a huge cast. I'm not going to read the whole cast off right now. It's
lots of people.
Yeah, lots of people are in Eternals, basically. There's been a lot of, I think it's easy to say that most of the kind of dialogue around this movie right now has been how it's received by critics, how it's being received by audiences. I didn't check just before the record, but I think the latest Rotten Tomatoes score I saw was like 48%. So I think it did drop below that 50% mark.
So I'll double check while we're.
But then the audience score was 81%.
Yeah, that's the last I heard as well.
It's incredibly divided.
It is. And then, but then like also the what is it, CineScore, or it's like the lowest rated Marvel movie from audiences so far, which it's like, ooh, a B. I mean, because every Marvel movie on there, I guess, basically has been some form of a grade A.
Right.
This is the first one to fall below that. So yeah. What did we think about Eternals? Did we all see it Thursday night? Did you see it Thursday night, Bobby?
I ended up seeing it Thursday night. I wasn't planning to. I was going to wait till today to see it. And good thing I didn't, because I didn't actually get the chance to go see it today like I thought I was going to. But what pushed me into going to see it Thursday is because I, for a minute there, kind of forgot that everyone likes to spoil everything the day of. And so I was so happy that I did, because I think it was IGN, like in their article title, mentioned the person in the end credits, and I was like, well, really? Okay, we're just going there, and it's still like, I think it was Friday morning or something. So I was like, I'm so glad I watched it on Thursday night, even though I hadn't planned on it. And I think it was almost last minute, because a lot of the theaters near me were sold out for the times that I wanted to go see it. I wanted to see it around 7, because a little bit later, it's a long movie, so I knew that would take me past midnight getting out of there. So I didn't want to do that on a Thursday going to work the next day. So I was able to find a 7 o'clock showing a little bit further out, but I ended up getting to watch it in an IMAX. So I was at least happy to get an IMAX showing on that Thursday night to be able to watch it that way.
Yeah, that, by the way, and we're not talking about spoilers yet now, but the mid-credit scene spoiler, that was spoiled for me before I saw the film. Like,
same.
Really?
And I guess that I had read later that seemed to be like kind of spread all over the place before the movie started. Like press after the press screenings seemed to just go with a certain bit of casting news. We'll just put it that way. Before it was even officially out to general audiences. And that's what happened to me. I was shocked when I have an Apple News feed, on my iPhone. And I think like it was just a random headline from Esquire or something like that. And it mentioned the casting. And I remember just seeing it and being like, the movie's not even out yet. Why am I seeing this right now?
Yeah.
Like, now, I mean, is it the kind of thing that like ruined anything for me? No, like whatever. But at least it did kind of still already give me a sense of like something to do with either the mid or credit scene or the post credit scene, which I wanted to know nothing. So it was kind of annoying. It was a little annoying, but it was just weird how like commonly it was being spread around before the movie even released.
I'm so frustrated with the media just putting everything out, I think, before like Monday, like even Sunday, but it's like, but it's Thursday.
Right.
Officially isn't even out. Like, just wait, let people enjoy it. Like, I kind of miss non-social days.
Oh yeah,
social media days. I mean,
I miss that all the time.
But anyways,
it makes me wonder how they'll handle Spider-Man, because that movie seems like it's ripe for spoilers throughout the film, not just the end credits, but just the film itself. So will they make the press see it a little bit closer to release, or will they make them sign something this time around so that there's nothing out there? Because I think a lot of people who want to go see that cold are going to get pretty upset if they start seeing a lot of that stuff early, especially if they see it. I think it was like, 2 weeks out that everyone got to see Eternals before it came out in theaters. So that's a long time to have to try and sit on spoilers. So I'm hoping maybe if they do go that route, that they'll get them maybe a week before or a few days before at like a world premiere kind of thing. So we'll see how that happens. But yeah, that's the next big one that we have to worry about trying to avoid spoilers for.
Yeah, that's true. That will be interesting to see how that's handled. But we'll just cross our fingers and hope for the best, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't do a bowl of destiny. Who should go first here? Who wants to talk about
I'll jump in a little
first?
bit.
Oh, you want to jump in first? All right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow, I am used to this.
Oh,
Please. Sure.
Well, so my non-spoiler thoughts of Eternals, I'll have to say, like, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot, actually. I like that it's visually, I think, is pretty stunning and beautiful, but it's also just got this a much more cinematic polish to it, I think, than a lot of the other Marvel films are. It just didn't have kind of, and I'm saying what I'm saying, and I love Marvel films and I love comics and I love comic films, but this just didn't have quite the same kind of, I guess, I don't want to say silly, it just didn't have like an animated to life feel to it. It just felt like real life. Like it just seemed a lot more natural in a way, not so comic-y.
More grounded, I guess you would say.
Yeah, I'll go grounded. No, I really enjoyed it. I think the director had a lot that she had to accomplish in this film when it comes to setting the groundwork for Eternals. And I think she did a really good job. There's a lot. I mean, the cast is quite large. The group of the Eternals themselves is what, 9, 10? How many?
10, I think.
10. There's 10 people, all completely individual and different backgrounds, different histories, different personalities, and different skill sets, and you have to kind of touch on everybody for everyone to have an understanding and appreciation for what each one will do. That's a lot in of itself, let alone just, what the Eternals are about. Like, how did they come to be? Like, what's just everything. So she had a lot to throw into a film, and I think she did a really good job with it, honestly. I liked it a lot. I liked the storyline, the plot. I thought everything was executed really well. I'm very happy with the film. I look forward to watching it again, actually. Like, I'm looking forward to either being able to purchase it, or if Disney Plus will have it first, or I don't know what the whole plan is on the digital media platform once it gets to that level, but whenever that is, I look forward to watching it again at home. Like, I'm ready. Like, I enjoyed it. I'm happy with it. So yeah, that's my non-spoiler review.
All right, Bobby, what do you think of Eternals?
It's funny. I'm really glad I did get to see it on Thursday, because it gave me some more time to sit with it, and by today, and being able to talk about it. Coming out of the theater, I felt really like I liked it a lot and enjoyed it. And it's honestly been a movie that I feel like, not just because it's been in the discussion in the zeitgeist for the last few weeks, or especially this week because it was premiering this week, but just in general, I feel like my mind keeps drifting back to it and going over things and the ideas that were presented and possibilities for the future, to where now I feel like I've crossed over from really liking it and enjoying it to loving the movie. And I only got a chance to see it once, so I'm chomping at the bit to see it next weekend, because I'll be seeing it again next weekend. And it's just the way it looks. Obviously, a lot has been made about that point, and just the vastness and the scale and the use of real locations. It's something that you just, without your brain or even knowing that that's the case, you just can tell it's the case just because of the way it looks. It's just shot wonderfully. It just looks so vast in terms of using these big landscapes and wide shots, and just everything about it from a technical level really is just wonderful in that respect. But the story and these characters being new to the MCU and being introduced and getting their backstory and everything else that comes along with that, I thought was just, for me, fulfilling, because it's touching on things that it's not like I can just say, oh, I kind of know where they're going to go with this because I read the comics. And so I know that this is what they're going to do based on like how you could think of those things in terms of the Infinity Story, Infinity Gauntlet, because there's a template for that based in the comic books. And same thing with just some of the individual characters. You kind of know some of the ways that they might go with it because you have familiarity. With this, it was just such a nice departure from me being able to just kind of know certain things and just be able to sit back and enjoy the story and get to see these characters unfold and their relationships and just the epicness in terms of the scope of where they're telling this story and some of the visuals that go along with it. So yeah, there's obviously more to say once we get to spoilers, but I definitely am on the board and train of loving this particular film. So that's what you can pretty much say. I have come out of it feeling, and I can't wait to see it again.
Nice. I guess that leaves me. Yeah. As I arrange our windows here. Like we talked about last week, my expectations were such that I have kind of gone up and down with excitement for the movie. I've gone from being really excited to, okay, it looks okay, to being excited again. And there was a part of me that was hoping that, everything I'd been hearing about this movie being so different from all the other Marvel movies would be a good thing. Not that I am hating on Marvel movies. You guys know me. I love Marvel films, but I think I've also just been ready for something different, for things in the MCU to go in a different direction. So that had me excited, if indeed that was going to be the case. I saw the film, Thursday night, and I would also say I loved it. I think it's easily the best Marvel movie this year, in my opinion. I don't actually think it's much of a contest. And I think we talked about this when we talked about Shang-Chi and probably with Black Widow too. Like, oh, where would I rank it with Marvel movies? I kind of want to, maybe I'll sit down this week and try to do like a ranking of Marvel movies for myself. I don't know that I've ever actually done that because I'm kind of curious.
I have,
but yeah, I really, really liked it a lot. It's definitely different. It can be a little slow at times, but not in a bad way, in my opinion. It's a very dialogue heavy film. Yeah, it's got action, but it's not heavy in action like a lot of MCU films are. It's definitely not heavy in some of the Marvel humor, though it has humor in it for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at Kumail Nanjiani's character in this. It's not like it's devoid of humor in any way, shape, or form. But I feel like the humor in this works compared to the way it's been handled in some other more recent Marvel movies. Yeah, no, I really enjoyed this movie quite a bit. I haven't. I think right before the show, Michelle, you were kind of scrolling through Rotten Tomatoes to kind of read through some of the negative reviews, and I haven't actually done that. I probably should, because I'm just kind of curious to see where a lot of the negativity is coming from. I haven't really read or listened to any reviews at all. So yeah, I guess I leave the theater feeling a little perplexed as to why it's getting the reaction it's getting. I mean, I would understand it actually more so from a fan like score than I would a critic score. That's the part that's throwing me off. Like,
yeah,
I would imagine, based on the movie I saw, that this would be a movie that maybe a lot of Marvel fans who just like seeing the typical Marvel film would be like, oh, what is this? It feels like a DC film, like, and I'm saying that. And by the way, side note, I'm not saying I think it is like totally like a DC movie. I'm not, but anyway. Yeah, I wouldn't have been surprised by that kind of reaction from the fans. And it seems like, not that fans are overwhelmingly loving it if you base it off of like the Rotten Tomatoes audience score and such. I think it's like we talked about, like 81%. That's not super glowing. I mean, it's very good, but it's not. I mean, audience scores on Rotten Tomatoes can generally be pretty high.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know that that's saying much. but still, like the fact that the critic scores are what they are is the part that kind of throws me off. But I'm saying that having not really, again, read the reviews.
I know. Oh, go ahead, Michelle.
I was just gonna say, when it comes to the reviews I was reading, is a little bit mixed, but it's weird. It almost seems like they're annoyed that it's not more comic-y, if that makes any sense. Like, they're like, oh, the scope of this was just too big to comprehend. And I was like, really? Because I feel like the scope of Endgame was pretty freaking large, and if not bigger than this, and they managed it, and I thought that it was managed very well in this. And then it's almost like it just kind of seems like they're almost like annoyed that this comic film isn't a traditional comic film. Like, it's weird to read them, and they're all kind of all over the place. Some of them are not happy with the director. Some of them are not happy with the tone. Some of them are not happy with how polished and grounded it looks. Like, it's all kind of all over the place. And I'm like, not on everything. I think that's all positive. It's an interesting, I read like probably 10 or 11 reviews, all from different, and they all had something just completely different that they were not happy about. But it comes off very like the underlying of it is that they're unhappy that it's not a traditional comic film.
What were you going to say, Bobby?
It's weird.
I think I watched enough videos and read enough reviews to know at least a generality of what a lot of them thought in terms of why they didn't like it, or maybe didn't like it enough. And I would say that the three things that seemed to come across quite a bit was that the characters left them kind of cold. Like, they didn't feel that the relationships were there, or was able to buy into the characters at all based on the way it was being presented. Another thing was they said it was dense, very hard to understand everything that was going on within the film because of how much it was covering, and complex. It was just like there was a lot of just different things and moving parts going on within the film, to where it just didn't feel like it was cohesive enough. It was like it was a little bit all over the place for them. And I would say those were the main things that I saw a lot in the reviews that didn't tend to care for the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that like the last part you mentioned is the part that I definitely find confusing. I mean,
I agree.
There's no doubt this movie has a grand scale about it for sure. But I mean, for me, and I have definitely seen my fair share of movies that are trying to do too much, and it can be hard to follow, and maybe the storytelling is in a very convoluted kind of manner. And I mean, we're not talking spoilers again, but I mean, at the times it kind of jumps around maybe in time a little bit, but I didn't find it at all confusing.
I have to agree.
I mean, none of it like felt like it was too much, like it was hard to follow. That seems funny to me. But.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, the reviews. Yeah, I read one review that said like the characters seem kind of flat, and I was kind of like, because they're not overly done, is that bothering you that their personality isn't just over the top? Like, is that what it is? I don't, you know what I mean? Like, to me, it just comes off very like, is it because traditionally a comic character, especially in the Marvel MCU films, they are kind of, if your personality is in a way and it's about a level 6, in the movies is about a level 8 or 9, like it's amped up and modified and amplified. And I feel like because their personalities weren't amplified to such a degree, maybe that throws them off. Again, it's almost like it's not comic-y enough for them or something, which is weird. And again, I don't understand this whole like they thought the plot line was just too convoluted or too dense or too deep. And I'm like, you know how many other movies I've seen that are there's other Marvel films that I think are more convoluted and deep and dense than this one was.
Yeah.
I
don't know.
It's interesting to me to hear that that's the complaint, that they had a hard time following that. I don't know. I know nothing really about the Eternals. I really, when it comes to my background on the heroes, I really have like not like un poquito. It's very tiny.
No, I'm less than that. I mean,
like
I knew nothing.
So I feel like if I can watch the movie knowing really absolutely nothing about these guys, and I can follow it just fine, and I'm not the smartest tool in the shed.
I had planned on trying to read some of I think the new Eternals run, and I never got around to it before this. So I really do nothing.
We should talk
other than trailers. What trailers told me, that was it.
We should talk spoilers.
Yeah. Anything else spoiler free you guys want to throw out there before we dive in?
No, let's jump into it.
All right, we're going to jump in. So if you are watching, here's your warning. We are going to talk about spoilers for Eternals. Basically, from here on out, for the rest of the show, we are going to talk about spoilers to the movie. We're going to talk about the mid and post-credit scenes. We're going to talk about all of it.
Whole shebang.
The whole shebang. Here it comes.
All the things.
we are gonna ruin the movie from here on out. Michelle, you seemed like I'm going to you because you're like, all right, let's talk about spoilers.
Let's talk about spoilers. Well, I just think because we're kind of dancing around everything now with the critics, and no, I think for me, like that, I enjoyed the love story that was between the characters that was being built, especially between Thena and Gilgamesh. Theirs is kind of a different situation than I think what we're used to seeing, and I really enjoyed that. I don't think that the film did a ton of timeline jumping very much, in my opinion. But like I really enjoyed seeing, and I can't remember the name of the character, but the character that can build things and create things, and he, there's a shot of Phastos. Thank you. That Phastos, basically, building, helping the humans to create the atomic bomb. Like I thought that scene I thought was really powerful. He had this scene where he was just like, I'm done. I can't believe I've allowed this to happen. Like I should have known better. I've been around humans long enough to know how they are. And I should have known, like you could tell who's just completely crushed and heartbroken. It was just such a really good scene. I don't know. I like the way the, I can't think of the name. The bad guys looked. I say bad guys.
Oh, the deviants.
The deviants. Thank you. I liked the way they looked. I thought they were pretty cool, actually.
I think that was another issue.
They're a lot different than what I think I had in my head, but they were pretty cool looking.
Do you think you mean like did other people have an issue with them?
I think so. I think I heard some people saying that they served no real purpose, that they were just like, as far as bad guys go, they were just cannon fodder. They were served no real, like they weren't really a big threat in that way. And I mean, that's true, but it's also by design.
I was gonna say they were created to be a red herring. That was the whole point,
right?
I mean,
well, and not just that, but they're created literally by design for them to be as something that were able to try and be on these planets that would help grow populations, but they went awry, and so then they created I should say what Aramesh, he created the Eternals to then go to these planets and kind of basically clean up his screw up, and so they were never meant to be like these end all be alls, but they were implanted into these synthetic beings, I guess you might call the Eternals, to be they're hard coded to fight these things, and that's what the purpose of them are. Is they're mortal enemies, basically, is these deviants, and so they're not necessarily meant to be like these world level threats. That's the other stuff that's going on in the background in terms of Armish and what his ultimate plan is. So I think that's what is really the thing, like in that sense, like you said, Michelle, it's more that red herring aspect. But yeah, I think that was a weird, like, did you not see the movie in that way, that you're complaining that you saw it and you don't like just still that they were just there for that purpose? I don't know. So
it makes me wonder if we're so by design locked into this idea of like the good guys versus the bad guys. And especially when it comes to Marvel films, the bad guys are this world crippling thing, you know? Like, did we get this so ingrained in us from basically dealing with Thanos in the MCU? And like, is this like, it has to be on such a grand scale that the bad guy, I keep saying bad guys, that basically the protagonists are, or antagonists, I can't think my verb straight.
I mean, you're talking about the villains, like the villains
like,
of this movie.
Does it bother them that they're not really the main point of the film? Like, that's real. Like, does it bother critics? Does it bother some people? Like, for me, I'm kind of like, that's okay, because it brings to light what the real issue is going on with the story. It's a mystery. I'm just complaining now. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, on the surface, you know, like, yeah, they're just like these like kind of animals that don't really have like they don't talk. I mean, for the most part, until they do. You know, so, but you're right, Bobby, like, but that's, and Michelle, like, by design, that's how it's supposed to be. But on the surface, I could kind of get that if you didn't really watch the movie. Like,
if you were really paying attention.
If you just watch the trailer, yeah. Oh, we were just sitting here to, you know, protect the planet from, you know, these deviants, and you just see these shots of them fighting these animal looking things. And yeah, if you just are doing your review based on that, then sure, I guess I could see
right
where you're coming from. But yeah, you should actually watch the movie and understand why they're there, like why the story is that way. I agree with you guys.
No, I mean, I like the twist that occurs in the storyline. I like, and the thing is, you know, it's kind of like the people that defend Thanos. You know, it's like, well, you have to see it from his side. And like, when you know, you think about it, you know, in his head, and now again, I can't think of his name. Icarus. Thank you. Like, Icarus is for him, like, this is what he was designed to do. He was supposed to follow through with his job, and that's what's just ingrained in him. And he wholeheartedly believes, like, this is the way it's supposed to be, then this is the way it's supposed to be. Like, so be it. And he wants to foresee this to the end. And I liked the twist that occurs. I thought it went really well.
And if you think about it, the way they do that and portray him in the movie, you can see that he's not really, I think he even sort of mentions it at one point, that humanity is not like something that he's all that close to. It's only because of Cersei that he's like, to get to her, he knows he has to get to know them, but he's not ever in a position where you can see that he really cares about humanity. And so I think they do a good job of showing that. That's why when he turns, that he's still following the plan that he knew about. And it's not like it's him just all of a sudden kind of just out of nowhere doing this. It's there. And it's also, he has this I guess maybe this feeling about it that he doesn't like that he's doing it, because he knows how it will resonate with Cersei. So it's not like he is feeling bad in the sense that, oh, he cares that humanity has to be destroyed. It's, I love Cersei and I know what this will do to her by me going along with it. And so I think it's just, I don't know. I think it's so wonderfully told in that way, and just seeing how he lives up to that Icarus title and at the end, and flying into the sun. And I there's so much in regards to this movie that I just think does things differently than any other. First of all, just the way it starts, there's never been a crawl in a Marvel film before.
No.
So just seeing that in and of itself was just kind of interesting and crazy. And the way it ends on the scene, again, they show who of the Eternals is the closest to humanity when you see Cersei be the one to go up to the boy and hands the knife over, and then it's like we get the Marvel, comics opening, and it's like, man, this is different. But it was good, different. And so seeing that, and then just going into the next scene, it's present day, and she's seen on the display, digital display, that knife that she had handed to that kid all those years ago. And so it just unfolds in such a natural way. And a lot of the things is that, like you said, Michelle, in the sense that they're heroes, but they're not conventional heroes, because not all of their motivations are based around being good out of the goodness of their heart and because they want to save humanity. Some of them are kind of doing it just because they don't want their memories wiped again, and they want to retain their memories. And saving the human population is a byproduct of that, then so be it. But yeah, I think that it's so many things that's going on at play here, and it is a large scale. There is a lot going on. I mean, you find out that again, I can't remember if his name, if I'm saying it right, but Aramish, that the Celestial is talking about how they create billions of worlds and galaxies by seeding celestials into planets, and then that population grows and feeds that planet to where then a celestial is born. And so there's that ultimate dilemma of, do you stop that because you've grown attached to this particular planet and the people on it, and by doing so preventing billions of other worlds being born? It's such a quandary when you think about the fact that it's just this one planet with, however many people that are on it. That is it worth it? And when we get to that end, and Armish is like, I'm going to read your minds and see if and pass judgment on this planet. It's kind of like, I won't say that Icarus was right, but when you think about the fact that at least on our planet, who knows how other planets are out there, it's not like Earth has reached some sort of utopian society or nirvana to where it's worth saving over being able to create billions of other worlds that might have that kind of aspect going on. So it's interesting just because of where it leaves off, and being able to see them make the case for why Earth should be saved and why Earth is special. And I think it's fascinating on so many of those levels, and then how that will play into other movies going forward, as well as just the fact that you have a half-born celestial sticking out of the water in Iceland somewhere. Like, how did they address that? And what does that do to the world knowledge of things? Do they know that celestials help create them? What does that say about God at that point, like in religion? And so it's fascinating to me, the different things that it brings up and the ways that they can explore it in the future.
Yeah, the storyline of the film brings up a lot of things, and the one of the big ones that you're touching on, is the age-old question: is saving the one worth the dismissal of the others? Is saving one life better
sacrificing
than
the many,
sacrificing the many? Right, exactly.
The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what it is. If you think about it, one planet with 8 billion people versus thousands of planets with billions more. It's a question that we've as humans have asked forever. But I think though, even the one character, I can't think of his name, the one that can control minds,
Druid.
Oh yeah, I keep wanting to say druid, and it's druid, and it's weird to me.
Yeah, it is weird.
So, but he, he's like, I don't understand. He's like, I can make it so that this can be a utopia. I can control them enough that they will create a utopian society. And then, like at the end, he's like, look where we are. We're here at the end, and are we even closer? Anywhere closer to where we were when we were back in Mesopotamia, when I could have just fixed it back then? And he's very frustrated by it. He's, and. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the judgment is. David, we keep talking over you.
No, I mean, I don't have much to add past what you guys are saying. I mean, I was gonna, side note, you brought up that opening crawl and how different that was. And I mean, my same reaction too was like, oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, the whole like, this is not a normal MCU film. Like, it started off right, frame one, like that. And then not only that, like what it was getting at with the creation of the universe, and immediately I was like, ooh, this is going to be interesting. Like,
Well, I mean,
to take a Marvel film and decide to, make a statement. Obviously, it's just a fictional story, but still to kind of play with the idea of creation and how the universe was created and everything is something that wouldn't say it's like brave of Marvel to do that kind of thing, but it still was like a little like, oh, okay, this could be interesting. Like this reaction that this kind of movie could get from certain kinds of people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what I was gonna say is that Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and somewhere else, basically Mesopotamia, has banned the film from airing there. There's, I think, 4 countries that have come together and they are banning the film, and it's because of the religious views and connotations of the storyline.
Right.
And again, it's a fictional story. This is just
it's just a fictional story.
It's enough touch on religion and creation and the universe that it upsets people. People don't like that to be challenged even in a fictional way.
Yeah, I mean, I'd heard that theory on another show, like before general audiences saw it. And there was, I think somebody asked, like, is it possible, like, that the Rotten Tomato score is a result of that, like the religious aspect? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I'm saying that I was thinking that, having not even seen the movie yet, but still, I was like, I didn't read those reviews, but
I think a lot of movie critics, yeah, I think a lot of movie critics kind of stay away from the religious thought process unless it is a movie that specifically focuses on like a specific religion or something like that. But from what I saw, that didn't seem to be
preaching to you like, well,
yeah,
this is how we literally think.
This is how we think the earth was created. Yeah, no, I didn't see any in the like 10 or 11 reviews I was able to read really quickly. I didn't see anything in mentioning that was what they bumped on. So I don't know. I don't think that has any merit to it, but it does raise a lot of questions and different ideas and thought processes, and that scares a lot of people. So, yeah.
It's so funny. I'm sort of replaying some of the things in the movie in my head, and there was a few times I audibly said "wow," and I was like, "Damn!" Like kind of audibly, and some of it was just because of how visually beautiful certain vistas were and the scenes and stuff. But some of it was just the awe of it in terms of like towards the end when Aramesh appears by Earth and he's just in the background where Cersei is talking to Dane and it's like you see him sort of beyond the clouds and regular people are seeing this thing. And I was like, wow, that just looks amazing and crazy incredible. And just even some scenes with Icarus when he's in the air, you totally get some Superman vibes from it because there's like a sun flare and it's just like he looks very stoic and powerful in the way that he's shot a lot of times. And I think one thing that I really remember thinking like, okay, we're not in Kansas anymore is and I'm curious to hear what your guys' thoughts are on it, is when Cersei and Icarus really finally declare how they feel for each other, and then we have that sex scene on the beach. And I was like, what? What? What is this?
And that hasn't happened a lot in Marvel films.
No.
Ever, has it? Like
ever. Never. So I was just like, wow, okay, this is grown up and they're really making sure they push the PG-13 because I mean most of the time, if not all the time, these movies are very five quadrant friendly. So it's like to see that, and it wasn't like it was just like a quick shot or quick after shot and they're just sort of naked. It was like he's on top of her and she's like, there's some simulation stuff going on there. So I was just like, wow, okay. So did you guys have any kind of reaction to when you saw that scene?
I think my first thought was, I'm not wrong in thinking that this is the first time we've seen something.
I think that was the only thought I had.
That was my first thought. I mean, there's been a lot of Marvel movies. So, I mean, not to say I don't remember them. Of course I do. But still, like, you start to go, wait, I'm not crazy. Because I'm pretty sure it's the first sex scene in a Marvel film. Mm-hmm. I mean, and yeah, not that it's like there's no explicit nudity or anything in the shot. But you're right,
shoulders,
Bobby. Like,
bare shoulders.
Like, they're definitely naked and... Yeah, it's
implied.
It's definitely it's very basically shown what they are doing. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I didn't have like too much of a crazy reaction to it. I was like, oh, okay, because mostly it still felt tasteful and even, it didn't feel that incredibly jarring to me.
Right.
Like, I definitely reacted to it in a way, like I just said, but I wasn't like, ooh, wow, this shouldn't be here. Like, this doesn't belong in a Marvel movie. I definitely didn't have that reaction.
I didn't have a negative reaction to it either. I think if anything, it was more just, I think, confirmation that this is just so much more of a traditional film. And I think one day we'll eventually get out of just calling these comic films if they continue down this road. They're just films. Like, it's an action story film. And it's just more, I think, realistic antidotes to life, that people have sex, that there are, LGBTQ everywhere, and they live totally normal, average lives like every other human being in the world does. Like, they are spouses, they have children, they worry about their children and their spouse, and like, those people are there. And there's people that have disabilities. One of the Eternals is deaf, and she signs. And these are all great representations of everybody. It's just refreshing to see that that's happening, and it's much more normal and natural. And it's just, that's how we are. That's part of what makes us human, is these things. And it's nice to see it in the film and then to have it represented, I think, in such a nice way. Normal. Yeah. Real life.
I was going to bring up one thing I bumped on.
I was going to ask if there was anything you didn't like.
But before I even bring it up, I'm also bringing this up as like, yeah, I kind of bumped on it, but I enjoyed this movie and it didn't really bother me. But it still was crossing my mind. It was as it was happening. It's the kind of thing that if I didn't like this movie, I'd probably be jumping all over it, going, "This makes no sense." But I don't know. Like, and even the more I think about it, there's a part of me it's like, oh, maybe I'm crazy for even bumping on it. But anyway, enough circling around it. This whole idea of a celestial being inside Earth, and Earth is basically giving birth to it. I guess in the context that we're given about how Earth the population, kind of needs to get to a certain size in order for there to be like enough of this, like, I don't know if it's life energy or, energy for the celestial to feed off of, to be born. It struck me as somewhat odd that it was to the point of coming out of the planet, but yet the population on the planet doesn't seem affected by it. Like, if you're making the context of, well, it needs a population this large in order to be born, basically, because of some type of energy, transfer or something. I mean, and this movie doesn't go into details. It doesn't need to. We don't need like a science lesson on it, but it still felt weird that it was like, okay, well, the way you're telling it, I feel like if it's to the point that it's like, okay, it's going to start coming out of the planet now, that then like the people would be affected, like their life energy somehow would be like am I making sense here? Like, it felt
like
weird.
you needed
I
scenes of
see
people
what you're
like coming to
saying,
their
but
knees and going, "Wow, I don't feel good. Oh my gosh!"
Like almost like people would just start dying because it's like, okay, I'm now taking the energy from all of you and now I'm going to come out of the planet. It's like, I mean, it almost seemed like if things were to just play through, people wouldn't be affected in any way except for the fact that it's so large that it's just going to destroy the planet to get out. But at the same time, I'm also like, when I think about it, I guess I'm like, well, maybe it's just that there's just enough people and then it can just come out and it doesn't really affect the people. I mean, again, I'm saying all this, it doesn't really bother me, but it's just something I thought about when I was watching it going, okay, but
I guess I didn't bump on the way you're thinking. I guess for me, it just was like, wow, they just shifted and created a new continent, basically. Like the head and the hand that's coming up out of it, that's enough. It's basically a continent. It's an island, right? So destroyed a couple other things. It kind of came out. I'm like, that's really gonna mess up the ecosystem and like
that's what you think.
I got all like, like I was like, man, like
what does this mean
global
for,
warming, what does this mean? The balance of it all, like that's what I went to immediately. But that's not like a bump
what
on it.
new
It's just my
future
thoughts.
Marvel film? It's going to be people like excavating it, kind of like how you had
Tourism is going to go out to it on big
Keaton's
boats.
character like collecting stuff in New York. It's going to be that kind of thing.
Oh, I think it's going to be tourists on boats. And over here we have, and they're going to be like, oh yeah, look at that, click, 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 click. I think it's going to be more like that.
Right.
Tourism's going to boom over there in Iceland, Greenland, wherever it was at. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I thought it was the Indian Ocean. Actually, I thought that's what I.
Yeah, I can't remember. Well, the Indian Ocean's going to get quite the tourism boom, I think. But
the Indian Ocean gets a lot of activity. Wasn't in Man of Steel the one what you call it was in the Indian Ocean. So it's a hotbed of comic book film activity in the Indian Ocean. Anyway. It was just one of those things I wanted to bring up to see if anybody else is like, oh yeah, I kind of thought about that too. I get the impression, not so much, just me. It's cool. I was just curious.
So since I know we're kind of starting to get towards our time, maybe we should probably start talking about the end of the movie and the credit scenes that were happening. But I will say, like, at the end of the movie, I'm with Bobby. The idea of seeing a celestial basically pop up, like, as if you're looking at the moon, there's a celestial right there in outer space staring at you. I was like, it's a cool shot. It's a very comic book shot, and I loved it. I was like, that's pretty awesome. It spoke levels, and I think just seeing the way that he kind of zoomed Cersei out of the atmosphere, and Dean just going, what do I even like? That's got to be pretty mind blowing as a person.
No, that shot, the shots of even the one coming out of the earth and like seeing the huge aspects of it at a distance, it looked like it looked real in a way that felt real, like if something of that just monstrosity of size were actually there.
They got some serious scientists to do some serious math and figure out.
Yeah, no, I liked how
the scope
that was handled.
Amazing. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
It also made me think about again, I don't know about you, Bobby. We saw this in IMAX. And I've said it a million times. I'll say it again because I find it so odd. Like, in one respect, I love seeing these movies in IMAX that are shot mostly or partially with IMAX cameras, and I love those shots in IMAX. But it's still, from an artistic point of view, I still find it so interesting to make a movie that shifts aspect ratios like that and changes its look so drastically. Because like the shots in IMAX look so good, even just shots of characters. It doesn't even have to be big, wide, shots of like crazy vistas or anything. It's just shots of people talking look so good, and then you'll go to a shot that's obviously not in IMAX like immediately after that, and it's almost jarring for me. I'm like, oh, this doesn't look as great. like you can tell the blacks don't look as good. It's just kind of, it looks grainier. But then it'll go back to an IMAX shot. I'm like, oh, this is better. This looks so nice. And then it goes back and forth, and I'm saying this, and it's not like the other shots are terrible, but it's just so unfortunate that I feel like we're getting close to the point when they're just going to make any movie or a Marvel movie completely in IMAX. And
didn't they make Infinity War and Endgame completely in IMAX or with
didn't
IMAX cameras?
think they did, but
I
maybe
didn't
they
think
did.
so, but
I think I saw both of those movies in Dolby Cinema, so maybe that's why it's not something that
I'll be honest. Do I notice these things? Totally. Do you? Obviously, absolutely. And Bobby notices these things too. But I'll be honest, I don't think an average moviegoer notices these things and it bumps on them.
No, and
as
I'm
it does
not
for
saying
us.
it does for everybody. I think it does though for a lot of people.
I'm sure most people actually go, the aspect ratio changed? How many times? I'm sure most people don't have a clue.
No, I'm not saying like everyone is like complaining about this like I am. That's not at all what I'm insinuating.
I'm saying, but I agree with you though. Like it would be nice to just not have it constantly going back and forth.
Because I know the complaint for a long time was that IMAX cameras were too noisy and they look great. I think Christopher Nolan would talk about this. Like he wished he could have used it more like in the Dark Knight series. But they're super noisy and they're hard to use in dialogue scenes, but the camera's too loud. But I feel like that's changed. I don't know anything about IMAX camera tech. I don't know how much the IMAX camera has changed in the digital world or what. But, we have a ton of scenes in this movie that are shot in IMAX where there is dialogue. Now, maybe they are ADRing every one of those scenes. They may be. I don't know. But, you look at the scenes that they shot with IMAX versus the ones they didn't, and it almost seems like, I'm sure you had your reasons for not shooting other scenes in IMAX, but I'd be almost kind of curious why. I don't know if it's a lens thing, but
I know that ADR is becoming a lot more popular in a lot of films. Like it's getting used a lot. It's happening a lot in post, a lot more than I think it ever used to be. And so I'm wondering if it just is getting used more. And that's why we're not noticing it as much as we used to. It's gotten better. The quality of dubbing, the quality of getting everything to sync up the proper way. I don't know. But I don't know enough about the series to talk too much about the mid and end credit scenes. But
before we get there, one of the other things I wanted to say is just that, every time they showed Armesh on screen and the size of that celestial is just incredible the way he looks. I mean, most of the time they wouldn't show him from head to toe. He was so huge, but it's just amazing the way it looked on film or on screen, I should say. And just real quick, I think with David, what you were saying as far as the people and the celestial that's inside the planet, I think my take on it was just that I felt like maybe it was sort of a kinetic energy kind of thing where it was like a buildup, and then as it got built up enough, then it had enough to then be born, as opposed to like it was sort of just draining people. I think of draining people when I think of draining people per se, or draining going on, I tend to think of like Galactus and how he'll come to a planet and just drain everything and the resources of it and feed off of it. Whereas I felt like this was just a building of energy that eventually got big enough to where it was enough energy that fed it to where the seed would essentially sprout or, be birthed. And so I think that was kind of how I looked at it, as opposed to the way that you were kind of thinking of it, though. But there's no official explanation, and maybe someone will come out and say something. But I think before, I know Michelle, you're anxious to get to the mid and post, but I really want to know your guys's take, or who do you felt like stood out to you as far as the Eternals, the characters, like who are the ones that you really kind of glommed onto as you were watching it?
Michelle, want to tackle that first?
I don't know.
Like a character I liked the most. Is that what you're kind of asking?
Sure. Or I mean, it could be a few. I've got a few, so I can. I guess I'll throw out mine.
I'll say if I had to pick one, it'd probably be, what is it, Fastos? Is that how you say his name?
Yeah. I liked Fastos.
He was probably the character
Wow.
I liked on screen the most. I mean, but it wasn't like I don't know. I guess that's my best answer to that question. I mean, Bobby, it sounded like you said you had a few, or
Yeah, I mean, I so I obviously thought that Kingo's humor was great at Kumail Nanjiani's
right.
humor was great as that character. So he was cool to see just from that standpoint. But like from a visual standpoint, Makari, just the way that they showed speed and how fast she was and her in that scene against Icarus was just so badass. Is just she's one of my favorites, and I would love to see more of her going forward in some more movies or pop up in other movies and or Disney Plus shows, whatever the case may be. But also the surprise person that I really liked quite a bit was Kit Harrington as Dane Whitman. Even though we didn't get a lot of him, I think that aside from me seeing him in Game of Thrones, where he's playing a very sort of drab and dreary kind of character, he had life in this movie, and he's like very like likable and has this sense of fun about him, and it was like, oh, it's good to see Kit Harington like seem like he's having fun and doing something. He had good jokes and a sense of humor, and so I'm looking forward to seeing more of him. And I think that seeing someone of that nature being seated in this, knowing that he'll get more to do later, was really good. And it just, I think they did a really good job of just presenting this character, even though we know we're going to get more of him. So I think those were like my big standouts.
I think I liked Faustus, and I actually liked Thena a lot too. I think she has a lot of struggle happening within her internally. Obviously, her memories seem to be far deeper than everybody else's memories, and that's going to be a constant underlying problem that she's got to overcome, if not overcome, and eventually cease because of the situation she's under.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that'll be
It's
interesting to see develop.
Trying to wipe a computer clean and you don't get all of it and it carries over. And so that's kind of
it's kind of like that.
So yeah, I think, she's trying to figure out, and then she knows she's had Gilgamesh to help her kind of control it, and now she's kind of on her own to figure out how this is going to work out for her. So that'll be interesting to see. Yeah.
All right. So mid-credit scene then. Michelle.
I mean, all I can say is that I know of the character that is Aramis, right? Thanos' brother.
Oh, Eros, is that it?
Eros, yeah.
Eros.
So it's like I know that character exists in the MCU or in the Marvel's universe. Like I know of him. I know nothing about him. I don't know if he's good or bad. I don't know what his storyline is. Like I just know he exists. And it's interesting just because a lot of this comes from Greek and Roman mythology, almost all of this stuff, which they tackle in the movies, basically all made up based on them. But no, so I don't really know anything about it. So like I said, I was like, oh, that's really cool. They're introducing him. Cool. I know nothing about him. This will be interesting to see what happens. So that's all I got
for me, and I mean, I'm going to sound like a broken record when it comes to Marvel mid and post credit scenes. When it's mainly when it comes to introducing these new characters that might, appear in future films and Marvel fans get excited about, I'm always sitting to the side going, okay, I don't know who that is. That's cool. But you guys are excited. So it makes me interested. But like, yeah, I mean, did I I talked about in our non-spoiler part, all I knew is I saw that headline of Harry Styles, right? It's Harry Styles.
Mm-hmm.
Harry Styles, now part of the MCU. Basically, I don't know how it was worded, but I could tell it was like something about one of the post-credit scenes for Eternals. And I was just like, ugh, what? like what is happening right now? And that, I mean, I didn't even hear like his character's name. I just saw his name and I'm just like, okay. I don't want to know anymore, but all right, fine. If anything, it kind of ruined my expectations for like a mid and post credit scene. I was just like, what the F? I'm like, all right. But Anyway.
Well, and I knew nothing about what was going to happen. So as it was happening, I was kind of like, oh, is this? I guess there was a part of it was like, is Thor coming through? It gave off a very kind of Thor Guardians of the Galaxy vibe to me at first. And so I was like,
I like what his silhouette was like walking down the hall. Or
even just the colors that were happening to like where he kind of morphed into.
Sort of like
how
the
he got
Rainbow Bridge
delivered.
colors.
Yeah, it was kind of like the Rainbow Bridge. And so I was kind of like, oh, are we going to hook them up with Thor? Which again, mythology, all kind of, pans out in a weird way. Especially because even somebody said that they were his babysitter or nanny or something. Something happened.
Yeah.
There was a joke about Thor. Anyway, so, I was like, oh, is Thor going to show up? And I was like, that's kind of cool. Like he's coming from like being with Guardians. I don't know. That's my first thoughts were. And then, the dwarf guy, gnome, whatever, shows up. Pip
the
I
troll.
was like, not at all what I thought was happening here. And then I was like, did the Guardians pick this guy up? And then it was, Eros. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'm like, cool. I know that character exists. I know nothing about this character, but I know he exists. And I know he's Thanos' brother. And that's all I knew.
First time I heard of him.
Oh, that's funny.
So I was kind of
news to me.
It was kind of cool to watch the scene, not knowing what was going to happen. Again, I hate that everything is on social media now.
I definitely know more about Pip the Troll than Eros, and because I hadn't read too many stories with Eros in it, other than knowing that he's basically a womanizer across the galaxy. He has the ability, I think, to affect pheromones, and so he typically uses that to his advantage. And so he's a bit of a player. But I think with Pip the Troll, it was cool to see him, and just because I knew that character from when I used to watch or read the Infinity Gauntlet, and he was a character closely associated with Adam Warlock. He sort of his partner in crime in the same way that you kind of saw Eros and Pip the Troll together. It was sort of like an Adam Warlock thing. And so it's interesting to see that. And I didn't know that was Patton Oswalt's voice until afterwards, but it's interesting that when I saw the CGI for him, it didn't look great, but for whatever reason, to me, it looked like Seth Green. And I was like, wait, is that Seth Green's voice? But no. And so it was odd until I saw afterwards that was Patton Oswalt. So yeah, I imagine they'll fix that CGI later on at some point, because it didn't look good.
It was not the best.
That effect shot didn't get the most money.
No.
So is this the third Marvel thing that Patton Oswalt is in?
Yeah.
It's like the third character he's done something with in the Marvel universe. Okay.
I hadn't counted, but makes sense.
Yeah. Interesting. I was just thinking about it.
What was it? Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., right? And then and then what else?
MODOK. He does the voice.
Yeah.
The character for that.
Yeah, I've never seen that. So.
No one really has.
Same thing, so.
It kind of got buried.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And then there's that post-credit scene. Speaking of voices. Yeah. It was interesting. I'll just say really quick. So yeah, I mean, I caught that was Patton Oswalt. I don't know. I can immediately tell it was him.
Nice.
And then we get to that last scene, and I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna say it makes any sense whatsoever. But this was just my reaction. Like we watched that whole scene with him, and then the blade, and then there's this voice, and it goes, cuts off. And I'm not again gonna say that this person's character being in the scene makes any sense whatsoever, but it's just the voice that sounded like to me. I heard it. I was like, oh, it sounds like Jeffrey Wright.
A lot of people have said that.
And it really did to me. And then like these guys in front of us got really excited afterwards. Just like, oh my God, it's Blade, it's Blade, it's Blade. And I was like, that didn't sound like Mahershala Ali to me, but okay. Like it just didn't. And it was funny. I started doing some Googling like that night. And I was even seeing stuff about Nick Fury, which is like, that's crazy. No, that's absolutely not Samuel L. Jackson. Like I was actually very surprised how many like this were like major like sites. These weren't just random people on Reddit. Like these were major like movie blogs that we follow that are very reputable that would bring up Nick Fury as a possibility. And I was like, no, like I would bet really good money against that. Like there's no way that was him.
Yeah.
But then like it was like the next day, I think I saw the quote. It was on fandom.com, I think, did an interview with Chloe Zhao, and she apparently is confirming that it's Blade. She was like, oh, okay. Like I just, for some reason, I thought I heard Jeffrey Wright. Again, I'm not saying that makes sense. It just sounded like his voice to me. But.
I mean, I think I thought it was Mahershala Ali, but then when you said Jeffrey, I was like, oh, it does kind of sound like him. Like I was like, that's.
I mean, I've only seen the movie the one time.
And then I was kind of like, I don't know. I guess I could see it going either way. I was like, I guess Blade makes sense based on the sword and based on the fact that there's a Blade movie coming in the works, and they want to set things up, which is always the goal. Set it up for the next one. You know, and we've had the What If series has already been out. So I guess I kind of was leaning that way. But then you said that, I was like, no, I guess it could be him too. You never know. Like the Celestials definitely are obviously involved with, you know, that situation. I don't know. I was kind of mixed. I was kind of like, whatever. But it's cool that it's Blade, but I really know nothing about the Blade comics. All I know is from I saw the first Blade film and I've seen the second Blade film, and even those two I've seen a very long time ago. So I know really nothing about Blade.
I mean, that's all you really need to know. It's not like they're going to follow any particular template from the comics. Same way for Eternals, they didn't necessarily do that. So I think as long as you know who Blade is, that's pretty much all you really need to know. It's not like they're going to, I don't think that they would change his origin story. So I think that maybe in this sense, they'll obviously tie him in more into the MCU and have him teaming up with Dane once he becomes the Black Knight. So I think that that's pretty much you know probably as much as what I think they want you to know in terms of his story. It'd be almost like it'll be curious because in a way it's almost like they're giving him the Spider-Man treatment where it's like, well, we figure you guys already know his story, so we're not going to do sort of an origin story thing. We're going to go in with the assumption that you know kind of the gist of this character, and we're rolling right into some story that's set up for, you know, importance to the MCU at that point.
And I guess I thought that Blade would probably have more of a, we'll call it an introduction, you know, after Morbius. Because to me, that makes a little more sense as far as Blade's character. And
well, but that Morbius is a Sony thing.
Yeah.
It's not really part of the MCU.
That's true. That's true. That's
yeah.
true.
That's probably,
true.
If it weren't, I guess I get what you're saying. But
well, that's true. I didn't think about that.
But I don't know. That was my only thoughts on that final scene. I've got nothing else on that. If you guys have anything.
It's just that I think it's exciting just from the standpoint of, I think if you asked anybody, I'll say if you were to ask anybody if you thought this would be the way that they would introduce Blade, I can't think of any single person on the planet that would have said, oh yeah, it'll be at the end credits of Eternals with the character of the Black Knight before he becomes the Black Knight. That just shows you never know what to expect out of one of these movies and where they're going to bring things and when they're going to bring things. So many people were saying, oh, well, Eternals could be the way that they introduce mutants because, there's genetics things going on with the way the Eternals are created, and you could see how that might make sense. But to think of Blade, so who knows how they'll introduce the X-Men or Fantastic Four, in what way, and in some unexpected way where you least expected it. And so I think it's just fun and fascinating the way that they put these things together and seed them in and be able to pay them off later. So that was sort of my big takeaway from it, is just like, wow, here it is. We've got the voice. Now we're moving on and we'll see what happens next and where he will pop up, if it will be in his actual film or maybe somewhere else before that. So it's cool. I'm just really looking forward to it. And along those lines, looking forward to this upcoming Friday for Disney Plus Day to see what other kind of Marvel stuff they have coming our way.
Yeah. I keep forgetting that's coming out. Like, how are they handling that? I mean, I know that's now we're totally changing topic as we close up the show, but like, is it like an online event, or is it just they're going to be kind of just
I'm
dropping
pretty
news press
sure.
release wise throughout the day? Or
I think they're going to do it the same way they did the investor day, is that it'll be online and it'll start at some time and they'll go through all their different properties and, probably leave Marvel for the end and start with some of their Disney stuff and go into Pixar stuff and then go into Star Wars and then end with Marvel. That'd be my guess, sort of like how they did last year, except for that was for investors. And this is just actually for any of the people that are enjoying Disney Plus as a streaming service.
Right.
Yeah. So that's Friday. Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Anybody got anything else before we wrap up?
No, I just think it's pretty great. And if you haven't had a chance to see it, go check it out.
Out of curiosity, Bobby, you walked out of the theater. What did you think we were going to think of it?
I couldn't gauge it because of the general splitness of it all. And I could see it going either way. And based on from what the critics were saying, I could see those being takeaways for either of you. So it was like, oh, okay, I could see maybe if the characters didn't resonate with you, or if they came off cold and you didn't really care for it in that way, then you might say, oh, it looks good, but then it just for the story, you didn't care for it. So I couldn't really put my finger on exactly how I thought you might come away from it. It went from thinking you thought it would be all right to thinking it was terrible. So I don't know that I had ever had the thought that you would like it as much as you do. So it's surprising in that way, I guess. Good surprise.
Yeah, I think I'm with you guys. It's probably it's up there in my Marvel films. I really, really enjoyed it. I think it was really well done. Like really, really well done.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, maybe this week I'm gonna sit down with a nice MCU list, try to put together with my current Marvel list that would, probably change every week if I attacked it every week, but
yeah,
I don't think I've ever actually done that. So I'll probably do that. I walked out thinking, yeah, Bobby, I think we'll really like this. I'm pretty sure I think Yasha liked it too, but I'm very curious to hear Yasha's thoughts.
Yeah.
But I'll go on record as saying I'm pretty sure he really liked it, but yeah, I'm very curious to talk to him.
I don't know. I don't have any inside scoop, but no, but the fact that he, I think what tipped me to him is just that he liked the comment that I sent that it made 71 million. We didn't really touch on it, but at the box office, it made 71 million this weekend. And I think he had liked that post. So I was like, okay, I think he must have liked it to some degree. I don't know what, but I think he at least liked it.
71 million's no laughing matter. It's fourth largest film, weekend opening in this year. That's saying something.
Well, it's saying that Marvel is still doing its thing, and comic book movies are still doing their thing, and big movies are still doing their thing. So don't see that stopping within this next month either, just with what we've got coming. So I think there's still some big movies left to go, and I think they will do pretty well for themselves.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, with that, we are going to wrap things up and get out of here. As always, we would love to hear back from everyone listening and watching. You can email us at feedback@flickereffect.com. If you are watching us on YouTube or Twitch or on Facebook, make sure to comment, hit thumbs up if you like the show. Comment with your questions, and we would love to hear from you. You can also reach us on Instagram and Twitter at @flicker_effect as well. I'm David Lott.
I'm Bobby Jackson.
And I'm Michelle Hillard.
Thanks for listening and watching.